Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Six Rings Kane Show. Jazz Santana here, joined by my good friend Vish, who is actually producing the show today for the first time, too. So if he wanders off and you see him looking at different things, he probably doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So we'll give him a break for that, Vish. Thanks for doing it, though, man.
I
Appreciate
can
it.
confirm I don't know what I'm doing. So I did check the YouTube stream to make sure our faces were there. So we're good.
All right, so we're good. All right,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome, and of course, special thanks to our special guest, Mr. Max Kesselhalt from the hit show Maxed Out, baby. What's going on, Max? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
But
Last
are
night's
you
show,
really? But are you really doing
I
great?
am because I'm just thinking about last night's show, and it was probably like the most fun I've had on a show ever. And I've said this like multiple times, but it just keeps getting better and better and better. We had Coach Hayes on for the first portion of
He's
the show,
awesome. Love Coach
and
Hayes.
he's one of the best out there. And then we had a very, very, very heated debate between some close friends of mine, and I just got to kind of sit back and kind of entice them to yell at each other. So
That
that was a ton of fun.
That's always fun. That's always fun to see them get into it. So we sometimes do that, but the main culprit is not here today. The Jock Givens is not on the show with us today. But it's always fun. It's always fun. Anyways, by the way, make sure you check us out on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us there. Give us a thumbs up, and also we're on the YouTube network as well. The YouTube network, right? Did I say it? YouTube
Yeah,
network
who
channel.
runs
There
that?
we go.
Who runs that
I don't
thing?
know. Some guy there. Some guy there. Again, thanks for coming on, man. Vish, obviously, we were all pretty excited about last weekend. What an amazing college football weekend, right?
It was
Beautiful, great
very
games.
enjoyable. Best Saturday I've had all year.
But we got to look ahead, right? I mean, look, there's so many crazy things going on right now with the University of Miami with the football program, as we all know. Just every day it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier as we hear different things, whether they're rumors, whether they're true, whatever the case is. The bottom line is that we this team is right now. It's just it's basically it's as cliche as it is, right? It's in shambles. It really is, man. Like this program is looking bleak right now. Even if half the stuff that we're hearing out there is true, it's a bad look for the program, man. And but before we get there, I really want to kind of look ahead a little bit and preview the matchup between the Tar Heels and the Hurricanes this weekend. Um, Look, UNC's coming off what we consider probably a bad loss, right? Okay, a bad loss to Florida State this past weekend, and it's never good to catch. I mean, I don't care who it is, but obviously UNC has our number. They kicked our ass last year. They kick our ass a lot, and Mac Brown is set to officially, quite possibly, fire Manny Diaz for the second time in his career. So they're coming off a loss. They're not the same team that they were last year. We get that, but they still have Sam Howell, still have Josh Downs, the kid Chandler, the running back. They still got some guys that can play there. And right now, we're just not a very good team. So I actually want to start off with Max on this one on the UNC Canes game. Really, a preview of what you can expect out of this game from the Hurricanes and from the Tar Heels both.
Yeah, I think you can expect to see a lot of the young guys for Miami play again. I think that's going to be the theme throughout the rest of the season, and that's something that I'm interested in paying attention to. Obviously, a lot of these games aren't going our way, unfortunately, and there's a lot of things going on in the program, but I'm looking forward to watching each game just because I get to see a young quarterback in TVD grow from a week to week standpoint. And you're going to get a lot of other younger players playing like Leonard Taylor and James Williams and Cam Kitchens and hopefully Chase Smith and a couple of other guys, the freshman receivers, Romello, Burchard, and Jacoby. Those guys should all be getting snaps at a weekly basis. So that's what I'm, looking forward to in this game. But then when you look at it from the North Carolina perspective, it didn't really matter who they had at running back last year. They were gonna average like a million yards a carry anyway. And Ty Chandler was Tennessee's leading rusher last year in the SEC. So expect a high dose of him, and then like you mentioned, Josh Downs, their number one receiver. I personally think he's better than the two receivers that they had last year in Daz Newsome and I can't
Diami
even
Brown. Yeah.
Giambi Brown. I think already he's better than both of them are. So you're going to expect a heavy dose of him as well.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see what this team does and how they kind of come out and and if they're prepared or not, man. Because right now, Vish, I want to get to you on this, right? Like, there's so many things circulating with Coach Manny Diaz right now, and other players and coaches are, not, nobody's happy in that program right now. There seems to be a lot of disconnect. And how is we're excited to see the young guys. I'm with Max. I want to see TVD, kind of get his feet under him early in the game, as opposed to having to wait a quarter or a half, because at that point we may be down too big against a team like UNC, and at that point it's all she wrote. But I love seeing the new guys. I said it from the beginning, and Vish, you know this from the first show that we did this year before the season started. I said that the three freshman wide receivers are going to be the guys that are going to step up. And this year, those are the guys that are going to kind of stand out. And we're already seeing, Romello Brinson, Brashard Smith getting a lot of playing time, Jacoby George getting some playing time. So I'm really excited to see them play a little bit more. We're getting nothing from the tight end position, absolutely nothing. So why not play Elijah Arroyo a little bit more, just to see what he's got going? And now that we know that Corey Gaynor is out for the rest of the season, with Ja'Kai Clark starting at center, and of course the running back position, right? Jalen Knighton. I think I like what I saw from him a couple weeks ago. So talk to me about, from a preparation standpoint, Vish, and just the mentality of this program right now going into this game against UNC this weekend. What's going on with them?
I mean, we were bad before this happened, so I can't imagine it's gonna get better with all the chaos going on. I will say that you guys both hit on this. Like, getting the young guys out there, they're probably just excited to play, so it might matter a little less that, frankly, behind the scenes it's a shit show. Because a lot of these is their first snaps, their first extended time. This is their first road game. We haven't played a road game yet this year, so there's like a lot of new stuff, which hopefully the kids will be up for. But I mean, are we even capable of playing well? Because we haven't shown that yet. So I don't know. There's like a mad. We always talk about, hey, if we can do this, if we can do that. Like, I don't think there's a flip to switch on this team. We're just bad. We're one of the most consistent teams in college football. You know what team's showing up, and so I don't know how we do anything other than, some of the young guys will probably flash. I think they'll be excited to play. I'm not worried about the effort, especially on the younger players, but like, UNC is better than us, and our defense is terrible, and so I expect Sam Howell to have a field day. And I don't know that even if Van Dyke plays well, we're going to be able to keep up with them offensively. With our defense, just struggled all year. It's one of the lowest
94th.
rate.
It's a
Well, it's
94th
94th against the pass. I think it's in the
I thought they
70s
were. I
over.
thought they were 94 total defense. But
Either
you
way,
might
they,
be right. Yeah.
they completely stink. So, and even though UNC's been up and down this year, I mean, like, every opponent we play, like that, even App State, that was the same quarterback that started for Duke against us last year when we shut him out 48-0. He had no trouble moving the ball on us. Same player. We have taken as bad as we were defensively last year, we've actually taken a step back. So I don't think we can stop anyone. Like, Leonard Taylor will make some plays and we'll get excited, but are we going to, like, for 4 quarters stop them? No, they're going to score. Just like he played well against Virginia, but they still move the ball up and down the field. So, I mean, I'm definitely excited to see the young guys play, but I can't imagine this game goes anywhere other than in the loss column again.
Well, you guys mentioned, we all mentioned it, right? Is watching the young guys play, and I think that that's been one of the big things going on, as far as from a program perspective. On, we're hearing, some of the older guys getting disgruntled, getting upset because some of the younger guys are starting to get more playing time over them now. And whether Manny Diaz spoke about it or not, saying, some of the guys are, it's put up or shut up time for the older guys. You're either in or you're out. All these different things that he says. And of course, we all know, listen, and we've spoken about this already. He's blatantly lying to our faces, lying to everybody, lying to the kids in the program, coaches, players, whoever it is. He's just blatantly just coming out and not, not being very forthright with everybody. So the fact that a lot of the younger kids are starting to play, maybe is leaving a bad taste in some of the older guys' mouth, from a play, getting playing time perspective, and just the way that he's handling everything from, as a program altogether. is that going to affect the game this weekend and just the season going forward? Max, have you heard anything, or do you kind of have feel some type of way on what's going on with regards to that situation?
Yeah, I mean, these upperclassmen are upset that these young guys actually care. And unfortunately, the older guys didn't really have anybody that could compete for playing time with them early on in their Miami career. So it didn't really matter. But now you have players that are just as good, if not better, behind you, and you've been practicing poor habits the entire time you've been at Miami. That now you're going to lose your job and you're going to be upset about it because you're like, well, what happened? Well, what happened was is you've been coasting your entire time at Miami, and somebody who just got here is working harder than you, and you're not getting any better. I mean, we've expected consistent play from certain players that have been in this program for 3 to 4, even to 5 years for some of these guys, and they're still inconsistent. Why do we have Nesta Silvera make 2 plays a game and he's like acting like he just won the MVP award when it's like, dude, you should be making more plays than that on a consistent basis. Like you have one game that you do really, really well, and then you just disappear for the next 4 games. You have Bubba Bolden who does the same thing. He celebrates when he makes the play, but then he goes and takes terrible angles the rest of the game, and his eyes are looking at the wrong side of the field. And so you get these young guys in like James Williams and Cam Kitchens and Leonard Taylor that are pushing for snaps. It's going to piss the older guys off. But at the end of the day, whose fault is that? It's the older guy's fault. And it's also the head coach's fault because you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. And at this point, Manny Diaz is allowing the senior leadership to coast. And so, he has this conversation. It's put up or shut up. It should have been put up or shut up after last season. Why is it taking to this point in the season to say that? You went into this offseason with the notion of that no spots are guaranteed. Yet the same players that make the same mistakes, that don't work hard in practice, are still the starters. And I
Right.
understand, like Leonard Taylor said, I didn't know the full playbook when I got here. That's why I'm not playing. But at least he's trying to learn the playbook. At least he's not a third-year freshman that still doesn't know the playbook, right? So can you reward somebody for working hard? If he knows 5 plays and you want to run one of those 5 plays, put him in the game. If
Absolutely.
if one of the receivers only knows how to run 2 routes, if you're running a play that he knows those 2 routes, put him in the game. There's no reason for these older guys to be out on the field if they're not going to put 100% effort in. And I'm tired of seeing players like Bubba Bolden just coast when he's on the field. So it should have been put up or shut up a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, the whole notion of coasting, especially when you're a senior or a junior or fourth year junior, whatever it is, right, is absolutely mind boggling to me that that's what we're talking about. Because if you're a third year guy or a fourth year guy, number one, leadership. There is no leadership on this team, right, Max? I mean, there really isn't, right? We talk about these older guys that are supposed to be leaders. I mean, clearly they're not. First of all, they're not showing it on the field, right? With their lack of consistency. If you were consistency good, I'm not asking you to be consistency great, because consistently great. But if you're consistently good, okay. But if you're like Nesta, like you said, that's making 2 plays and acting like they won the national championship off of those 2 plays, and then disappears for another 5 or 6 plays, and then makes run someone down 20 yards down the field after they've already broken. I mean, how are you celebrating these kind of things, right? First of all, the sheer lack of discipline and disrespect that they have, even the young guys to a certain degree, is how you're letting them take photos after they score a touchdown on the sidelines. Like, that to me is just stupid. Okay, it's just blatantly stupid. Like, you gotta understand where you are and what you're doing. You gotta be in the moment. And if in the moment you're down 14 or you're down 10 points, or you're taking pictures after you score a touchdown, then what the hell are you doing? Like, really? That's a reflection on Coach Manny Diaz and the rest of the staff. How are you letting that happen? How are you letting them do these kind of things? Vish, you want to say something?
Yeah, this whole thing is a reflection on Manny Diaz. You
Yeah,
mentioned coasting. He's the coasting head coach. That's what he
right.
does. Like he doesn't. He's so focused on, frankly, bullshit on the side of it. The football sucks. Like the actual football sucks. To your point, they're taking a photo on the sideline so they can tweet it out and sell an NFT on it. Meanwhile, we lost to Virginia. Like, where's your focus? It's not on the field. And Max hit the nail on the head. These are guys that have been here a long time that haven't performed. Now, the only thing I would cut that with, and this is where I don't trust Manny Diaz at all, is all of a sudden the season goes sideways and all the young players are playing. If he's trying to say that we stink because he's using a bunch of young players, I have no patience for that. Because we stunk.
That's already been the narrative.
Right.
You're basically like DVD got interviewed by a Kane Sport, and he said, "Yeah, we expect Manny Diaz to be here for the next 2 years because he's now being forced to play the young players due to injury." No, you're playing the young guys because they deserve to play, and the old guys don't.
Well, either way, this is what I was saying when I say I don't trust him. Like, we don't see practice, and I could see the old. First of all, the older guys haven't proven squat. Like, none of these guys have earned.
He does. He sees practice.
I do. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And Jock says no one's ready, so you got to balance it out, right? But that's kind of a 5 reasons inside joke.
Yeah,
but so here's where I don't trust him because he's in the excuse making business. He knows this thing he blew this. So now he's like, oh, we're gonna play the young guys and this. Well, now we got to get them experience. He needs 10 recruiting classes. Apparently, it's all BS. Like they should have fired him already. Because how can anyone trust his decision making when he's trying to save his ass? He can't actually make the team play well. That's not an option. So he's we'll empty the bench, right? And so I can see whereas like if you're a senior you're trying to get drafted or trying to get something on film, and the other guy is outperforming you in practice, screw you then. Like the younger guy could play. I bet you some of these guys though, it's Manny throwing young guys out there as an excuse too. It's probably a mix. So not that I really can point to 10 guys that are seniors like, oh yeah, that guy should keep getting reps because frankly no one's played well. But I don't trust Manny Diaz at all to actually be evaluating the football and saying, this freshman should play, but this senior should play in this position. Because all of a sudden, after like stubbornly refusing to give reps to any of the young players, they're all playing now? Like, what happened? To me, I have no faith in him. And you guys talked a lot about offseason not putting the work in. Like, he rested on his laurels of De'Aaron King bailing his ass out multiple times last year to make the record 8-3. Like, you look at those NC State and Virginia Tech games. Like, De'Aaron King put on, like, all-world performances so we barely won. Or this is a 6-5 team. Like, we need to grow out of that, and we, got on yachts and all this stupid crap, and we stink. So I mean, we're where we are right now, but I don't think anyone can trust him to do anything. And I don't think he's going to be the head coach next year anyway, which is why there's all this stuff about, some kids are leaving, but we don't know who. I think all of them are waiting to see him get fired and see who the new coach is, frankly. This is all this is why, from an administration standpoint, after Virginia, it's over. They should have fired him that Friday. He had 16 days. You could have prevented the situation that's currently unfolding.
But here's the thing, right? And Max, maybe you can allude to this also. Like, if he knew he was gone after this Virginia game, or even if he didn't know, but maybe the administration knew, how the hell are you letting him trot out there on the Joe Rose show on Monday morning and talk football? How are you letting him do press conferences? Well, I know why. I know exactly why and how. First reason, okay? And Max, maybe you can kind of talk on this a little bit, but I'm going to kind of, preface it by saying everybody that he has spoken to gets paid by the University of Miami. And the people that don't get paid by the University of Miami, what I mean by that is, the journalists and all, all these reporters are doing this. Do you know what that is? Lobbing him softballs. So he doesn't have to answer any tough questions. Neither does Blake James. Neither does Julio Frank. Nobody is held accountable by the media down here because nobody cares to ask them the tough questions because they know, first of all, I don't ask any questions because I will lose my credentials. Okay, and I've said this already on the chat. I go, if I ask questions in these press conferences, I'm never going to speak to anybody again. And Max, we'll talk about. How I feel about. Well, I know how Max feels about certain things. So, but anyways, Max, like to me, man, the fact that you let him trot out there, knowing that he's a dead man walking, basically, right? It just kind of says a lot about the administration as well, right?
Yeah, and don't quote me on this because I haven't watched the video, but I was told that Brandon Merriweather, who's doing a show with another YouTuber, said on his show last week that Manny Diaz was relieved of his duties. However, his father stepped in to delay the firing publicly.
Right.
So again, I'm not going to say that I know that that's true. I'm not going to say that I watched that video, but it is now kind of surfaced that that has kind of transpired. So to me, I I agree with you. Why delay that? Because at the end of the day, things are just going to get worse until the real problem is gone. And it's going to make it harder for the new head coach and the new either football AD or actual athletic director to fix the issue. If you get rid of the issue now, it's you're not going to have as many people transferring, you're not going to have as many recruits decommit, and you're not going to have as many issues with the current staff. And so I just think it's ridiculous that he is still coaching while being fired. We'll say that. Just technically not publicly, I guess, according to what Brandon Merriweather said.
Which is weird all in itself, right? Like how I mean,
Yeah, I've never
you
seen a
know,
coach while fired.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're asking me, if you're firing me and you want me to still go out there and show face and all that, I'm gonna tell you to go screw yourself, right?
well, I
Like
think it's the other way around. I think like he was fired, but he still wants to show
that's
face.
crazy. That's so. I mean, that's sad, man. Like that's sad. By the way, thanks, Chug. Appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah, let's do all that. Let's get it. Chud, Chudzinski,
Chud, Mario,
Mario,
Muschamp.
Muschamp. Perfect. And you know what? I want to bring something up because for the first time ever, and you guys are gonna roll your eyes at this, but for the first time ever, I actually believe a little bit about what Luther Campbell is actually talking about. When he came on, I think with Brendan Tobin this week and talked about the program, and we all know how he is, right? He's absolutely out of his mind and talks most of the time just talks crap and really doesn't make any sense with anything he says. But I think some things do make sense, man. And I'll talk about it. I'll say it. This whole thing with Ed Reed, of him, tweeting out certain things, saying that he's not a coach right now, and this, that, and the other. And then he tweeted something else out with him with the mask and the hat, and he's kind of getting more involved in the tweeting game as far as I can tell. And so there's mixed signals there. Is he going to coach next year? Is he going to coach now? Is there things going on behind the scenes? What's going on? But to that, Luther Campbell kind of mentioned that he had conversations with him and conversations with certain players that he's basically just sitting down at a desk with a playbook on his desk and does absolutely nothing. Right? He just sits there. He does nothing. Players don't come talk to him. Nobody comes talk to him. He's barely there, or he's just in his office hanging out. He's not a part of this program per se. And so then they told him to go start talking. And then Luther Campbell says that to Bubba Bolden's parents that he should start going to get as much information as he can from Ed Reed now while he's still there, while there's still something for him to learn. And so apparently he still didn't go. And then now he's all of a sudden talking to him, but that they don't really use him, Ed Reed, in any capacity there. He's just a figurehead to kind of shut up all the people talking about how they wanted to hire Alonzo Highsmith last year and this, that, and the other. So not only that, but talking about how other coaches want to actually come coach at this program, even if it's just for a couple of years, because they know they're going to be able to move on from. I don't know how much I believe about that, because right now, I mean, this is not really a stepping stone position, because we suck. So I mean, how much of that do you guys take take with a grain of salt? Do you believe most of that's going on with Ed Reed? What's your thoughts on the whole Ed Reed situation? Any of you can kind of chime in first on that.
Well, I mean, I think he was brought in to be a figurehead, right? They had the Highsmith option. Highsmith is someone with a lot of administrative experience. I have all the respect in the world for Ed Reed, but he just retired from the NFL. He hasn't done back office work. Like, that's not what he was great at. If they hired him to be a coach or something, he'd be disruptive. He was brought in as a shiny object for us to shut up after the 6 and 7 season. because we obviously all respect him. He's one of the greatest football players of all time, and a legend at Miami. So of course, having him involved makes everyone feel better. But that was what he was hired to do, to placate us. If they wanted to mix things up and actually fix things, that was the Alonzo Highsmith move, because he has a lot of experience in doing that. He would have been a much more substantive change. They didn't want that. It's the same reason Manny Diaz was hired. He was hired to keep status quo.
Well, the problem is, and I'll let you keep saying it. The problem is that Manny wants to feel like the smartest guy in the room, and when you're the head coach and you want to be the smartest guy in the room and not have other people like defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators that are smarter than you. Although I must say, I think that Rhett Lashley and some of the guys are smarter than him, but he has this persona that he wants to be the smartest guy in the room. You're setting yourself up for failure, also, right?
Well, it's just, yeah, and he made himself the defensive coordinator, and the defense stinks. So what do you do with that, right? I mean, but this is all of this chaos stems from, we don't have any leadership in the athletic department or the school presidency. It's all just chaos. We got 500 people like weighing in on this board trustee member, that one. You got people tweeting stuff out. You got, leaking here, leaking there. The whole thing with whether or not it's true or not, the fact that Manny Diaz Jr. getting fired and Senior making a call to delay it is plausible. Like, it's believable. Whether it's true or not, it's believable. And the reason it's believable is because our whole athletic department's so weak. Like, there's no, like, the AD should be strong enough to say, I run this thing, everyone shut up.
Yeah.
And it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. And that's why this stuff happens. It's all weakness. It's weakness from the president, it's weakness from the athletic director. So you have chaos underneath, and then you have a weak head coach on top of it. And all of that together, you end up with this stuff, where there's so much. It's basically a marketing department that plays football occasionally at this point.
What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I mean, can you guys tell that Bob Shoop's on staff? Does the defense look any different?
Right.
Can you tell that Ed Reed's helping out the safeties? Can you tell that T Rob's teaching our guys how to play press man? No, because we don't play any press man. So why bring in people that can help your program and then not let them do their job? I mean, T Rob was brought here to recruit and to teach bump and run so that we could play man coverage. We sit in our soft zone that we played all of last year. You bring in Shoop to change some of the deficiencies in our game. Nothing's changed. And then you bring in Ed Reed to do something. And then whenever he wants to give his opinion, you don't listen to it. So he's made the right moves, but he's just not allowing those moves to make any change. He himself didn't let Rhett Lashley go for a touchdown in Virginia. Rhett Lashley he called the play. He wanted to score, but Manny Diaz said, "Nope, no, we're just gonna lay down and let them try and kick a field goal." So what's the point in giving Rhett Lashley full control over the offense if you're just gonna not allow him to do his job? What's the point in hiring T Rob if you're not gonna allow him to let his corners play press coverage? What's the point in bringing in Shoop to change the dynamic to fit his 4-2-5 if you're not going to listen to him? There's no reason for it. It's just all surface level BS that looks nice to the fans, and then we see the product on the field and we know it's a load of crap. I mean, that's what's happening. That's why, like you said, Vish, that's why Ed Reed was hired. Ed Reed was hired so the fans are just like, oh, look, they're trying, because they knew Ed Reed wasn't going to force change. Alonzo Highsmith wanted power, and the school is unwilling to give it to him. So they hired Ed Reed to make it care like they actually, do care, which has not been true. And fortunately, from everything that I've heard, the right people are starting to get very, very upset. So we can hope that change is coming soon.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you is there, just again, we're just speculating here, and obviously we don't really know anything, but do you think that there's turmoil within that coaching staff, within the, not only player to coach, but coach to coach? Obviously we're seeing some, there's reports out there, there's guys like D Wiggins and Mark Pope and even Sam Brooks that are thinking about entering the transfer portal. Although we kind of saw the writing on the wall with a few of those guys. You're probably going to hear a couple more, but is there a rift? Is there something going on? You think, right? Just out of speculation.
It's it's not speculation. I know for a fact. I mean, I talk to players on the team. I talk to players' parents on the team. I talk to people that speak to coaches. I talk to people that have friends in the board of trustees. There's turmoil in every single one of those divisions. It's not speculation. I mean, it no one on the team or the coaching staff respects Manny Diaz at this point. He's completely lost the trust of his staff and his players. So when that's the case, that's when I disagree with every coach deserves 5 years. If you can't demand the respect and gain the respect of your staff and your players, your time as a head coach at that school is done, because you can't repair that. Once that trust is gone, you can't get it back. And we're at that point at this point. So Manny Diaz should no longer be the head coach of the University of Miami. And to be quite frank, he shouldn't be a head coach of a university until he proves himself again as a defensive coordinator, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that.
I mean, we've discussed this before. Temple was his level. That's why they hired him. Any school could have hired him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were like, we'll take a shot on this guy. The fact that we went and hired him is one of the most insanely idiotic things that an athletic director has ever done. Like, we're going to be paying for that mistake for a long time, and it was an unforced error. Like, the market, there's a free market out there. People can come up with money and hire a coach. It determined his level was Temple. What were we even doing? Like, this was foreseeable, and it's a huge mistake. And I think one of the things you can see from the school's reaction, they are vulnerable to that criticism that they don't care, because there's evidence to support that argument. And that's why they overreacted, like a 1-minute segment on ESPN on game day before they started talking about the real teams, like in the 9 o'clock hour, like the early morning time when half the people aren't even watching. Manny Diaz talked about it. Julio Frank released a statement. Blake James then went on ACC Network to talk about it. Like, that overreaction shows they're vulnerable to it. They know it's dangerous to get that out there, because that's the way they behaved for more than a decade, mind you. So it's not like, and that's why that's why they overreacted to it, and it's coming apart, which is actually a good thing for us. We need that house of cards to fall.
We got to go time out here and give a big shout out to Chug Mabir. Thank you so much for the donation, man. We appreciate that. That's awesome, and we definitely want to put up what he said here. All of Manny Diaz did today is lie and make excuses for when Miami doesn't win Saturday. He'll say he had 10 players sick and they're mad. Well, all this BS. Fire him now. Recruits are leaving anyways. Yeah, I mean, look. Again, thank you so much, Chug. We appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Awesome.
I mean, it's true though. It's true that now there's 10 players that are sick. Who the hell are those 10 players? And all of a sudden now they're sick. I mean, it's just excuse after excuse after excuse now. So if we get shellacked against UNC, I mean, there's even more excuses now, right? Well, we're missing 10 guys. Last week against UVA, or a week and a half ago against UVA, it was, we were missing so many of our senior guys. I mean, they all suck anyways. It's not like they were going to make a difference in that game. It's like for you to sit there and say, well, Al Blades and Jared Harris. The only one I think that maybe I like Harrison Hunt. I think he's a great player. So missing him was kind of tough. But some of the other guys really weren't going to make a difference anyways, man. So like, what are we even talking? Why are we even talking about?
We're bad, and there's no sugarcoating that. Like Virginia did things in that game, especially defensively, in terms of sacking the quarterback and stuffing the run, that they have not done all year and didn't do against Louisville last week either. There's one common denominator in all of our performances, and it's us. Everyone has their way with our team. So, I mean, he can make all the excuses he wants. Hopefully it's his last post-game press conference if we lose. But that if the administration's actually still in a position where they're buying the excuses, we got a problem. Like, he can say, look, the challenge Manny has is he should have been fired, and he's trying to explain why he still has a job, basically. And there is no rational explanation.
Right.
Like, so he's basically forced to come up with more ridiculous explanations. So yeah, he'll come out and say we were missing a lot of guys, whatever. And then the athletic department should be releasing a statement shortly after saying he was fired. Like, I mean, and then he won't have to go through this again. But if he does, we're gonna lose the next game after that. He's gonna come up there again and have to come up with some other excuse.
I think hopefully we all don't have to go through this again through this again after Saturday. Um, Final words before we kind of get going. Again, thanks Max and Vish for coming on and doing this. We'll start off with Vish, and I'll go around on this one. Is Manny official? Will he be officially gone after Saturday?
I'll just say yes. I mean, I can't imagine they're gonna continue this, but they've done stupider things. So, but I'll say yes.
Max, since we've already kind of gotten this from everybody last week, first of all, will Manny be officially gone after this Saturday? And then second of all, who's kind of on your list of guys that you want to see coach this program?
Is he gone after this week? The answer to that question is it depends on the severity of the loss. I think if we lose by more than 14 points, there's nothing anybody can do to keep him here. Unfortunately, I don't trust us to make the right decision if we lose by less than that or win the game, because the best time to fire him was during the bye week, and that didn't happen, publicly at least. And then in terms of whew, who I would want, I mean,
Flo, by the way, Flo gave me some good names, so I got to see what you got here.
yeah, I mean, I got like tons of names, but the guy at the top of the list is as my boy Storm Warning in the chat would say, TOC, and that stands for the other Cuban, Mario
Yeah.
Cristobal. So that's the top of my board, and the reason for that is he is the best recruiter in the country, if not best, top three, and he is a CEO where he is going to help coach the offensive line. He's going to bring Alex Mirabal, who's probably the best offensive line coach in the country. He takes him everywhere, and he is going to go out and hire the best OC and the best DC that he can. And that's what I wanted out of a head coach. He's going to coach these guys tough, and the 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 stuff that's going on now will not be allowed to happen under Cristobal, and we need that disciplinarian as the head coach.
But first, we got to get rid of the guy on top of him, right? In order for him to come over here.
Top of who?
Top of the head coach. That's the AD.
Yeah. So yes and no. I don't think we have to get rid of Blake James from the program. I think as long as we bring in a football AD that has zero, he's not held to the AD. If he has full control over the program, AD can't tell him anything. He strictly does football. Blake James says, "Hey, you know what? I've messed up. I haven't been able to manage the football team. I'm going to completely step away. I have no say in it." Then you don't need to fire him. I think that's good enough. Now, will baseball and basketball still suffer? Potentially, but you could also make that decision on those sports as well. Let's just say, for instance, the football program turns around because we hire hypothetically Alonzo Highsmith, and the school sees that, the board of trustees see that, then they're going to feel more inclined either to replace Blake James because clearly he's doing a bad job, or hire athletic directors specifically for those other sports that are lacking. So I think the only way Blake James can keep his job is if he steps back and says, "I don't want control over football." That's the only way he can keep his job, and I would be fine with that.
By the way, you mentioned something that I think Flo did also last week, and it's the Rolodex, man. It's the Rolodex that Cristobal would bring, and that's what you need. You need a coach that can bring that Rolodex with him to hire the best possible guys, and have full control of this program. So I agree with you there. Thanks, Max, for joining us again, man. Let them know where they can catch you every week.
Yeah, so you can find me on the new Maxed Out show. I host that every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the Miami Flow channel. If you did not watch last night's episode, I highly suggest so. My man A Black in the chat, Storm Warning, he was in the building last night as a spectator. He kind of just got to sit here and show his lovely face and kind of just watch as I watched. his co-host Groove and Wholesome One and our guy Mike McCoy kind of go at it.
Oh yeah, Mike sold out tonight, man. Jesus,
Yeah,
Mike.
Mike's kids,
I
they're
know,
in
I
they're in high demand. So, so that was awesome. So you can find me there every Tuesday at 9 on the Miami Flow channel. And that's pretty much it right now. I'm just working on that and doing some other stuff behind the scenes. So
awesome, man. Thank you so much again for joining us, bro. Always a pleasure. Anytime you want to come on, man, feel free, and we'll keep chopping it up. Vish, thank you so much, my brother. You did great today for your first production, man.
It stayed up the whole time, so that was
Yeah. We'll see you guys. Remember, game time is at 3:30, right? 3:30 on Saturday
yeah,
against USC.
yeah. It should be
Cool.
over around 4:30, and then we can.
At that point, we can zoom. Max is gonna zoom it up.
Watch some good. I zoom damn near every night. So
I know you do. I see it on the chat on the Discord. He's like, ready for Zoom. I'm like, shit, another Zoom? What am I gonna do here, man? When do I get on? Thanks a lot, Max. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week, and make sure you tune in on the YouTube Network channel and also on 5 Reasons Sports. Subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And again, thank you to Chug for the donation also, man. We'll catch you guys next week. Go Canes.
Yep. See you.